What is going on, everybody? Happy Easter, if that is kind of your thing. If not, another day for you. Nothing wrong with that there. But Quancredible here to bring you the review for Black Clover Chapter 288. Real quick before I get into the review, I do want to apologize for last week. My stomach was messed up, bro. Like I was just feeling sick. I was down bad. If you caught my live stream, then you kind of heard what I was talking about. I just didn't feel all that great. But review is here today, and honestly, in its essence, this chapter was just a pretty dope fight chapter. There wasn't a lot of dialogue in it at all, and there's like a bunch of double page spreads, so there's not really too much to unpack in terms of like information. But there are some cool things here to talk about that I'll just run by. In the beginning of the chapter, we do have that Asta basically took off because we have the bottom of somebody's mouth. This is obviously Finral. But as soon as the Black Bulls and Asta got to the Spade Kingdom, Asta more than likely went Devil Union and beeline straight to the Spade capital for Noct. And it's really it's kind of interesting because when you really think about it, more than likely he passed everything probably because Gimmadella was like, Noct is literally about to die. So like that's probably why he passed by all of the Dark Triad. The demons are outside and all that other stuff. And one interesting thing is next to the castle, I don't know if anybody else seen this, but you can kind of see this big shadowy figure. I kind of feel like this is the demon that Merleona is fighting, just because it kind of looks all like foggy and like huge, and it's like an extra castle. I just kind of feel like that is the demon. So I think that's like kind of a cool touch, if that is the case, that you could see it from there. And into the room with Noct and the Twin Devils, Asta has just arrived, and Noct is essentially saying that I don't really matter all like that, so you should go take out the Dark Triad as opposed to protecting me. Whereas Asta, of course, he got stronger because of Noct, so he wants Noct to kind of see his growth and kind of see how far he will go, which is, this is very Asta's character, and this makes Noct see Morgan in Asta, and it's one of those things where I'm glad this didn't go into another Noct flashback, because we've been having Noct flashbacks periodically throughout this entire arc. So at this point, like after everything they've done, we pretty much get the picture. So hopefully we don't really need to see his past all like that anymore. And it's also right after this that we get this close up on Asta's chest. Like in the panel he says "oh," and like there's like a sound effect. It's like a zzz, and it's almost like a leaf appears on the pentagram that is on, or not, it's not a pentagram, but whatever the like 5-sided, is it a pentagram? I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure if it is, but like whatever it is on his chest, like the kind of like 5-sided star, I guess, it gets a leaf on it, or a little blob appears on it. And myself, as well as I feel like a lot of other people, speculate this is probably a timer for his Devil Union. Now the only thing that makes this weird, because I really do think it is a timer, because throughout the chapter he gains another one, but when he first went Devil Union, at the end of the chapter where he defeated the giant ancient demon, and at the beginning of the chapter after he faced the giant ancient demon back in the Clover Kingdom, the little pentagram thingy looked the exact same. Like it didn't look like it had grown any little bulbs or leaves or whatever these are. So that's the only thing that's making this theory a little kind of shaky for me. I did see a interesting one because in this chapter he used like 2 swords, and there was a point in time where he had 2 of the little bulbs filled. So like somebody was saying that like, oh, it could be like the more swords he used, they could like, be more leaves. I thought that was kind of cool, but it's probably more than likely the former, and that's probably what everybody else is thinking. I kind of feel like the only reason Tabata might not have shown this before is that Tabata may have forgotten about it, or maybe he just thought of it now and wanted to add it in as like a nice touch or a visual representation of how we can track his form. Either way, I think it looks pretty cool. And we also get Lilith and Nama that are extremely excited that Asta had cut Nama, because they had even said they've lived in other worlds for centuries and nothing this exciting has happened. And even Libby does recognize them as high-ranking devils. Now, one thing that's really interesting to take note of here is that Lilith and Nama proceed to fight Asta with no regard for their own safety. They're just going straight at them, all out. And I think it's I can't say for sure with all high-ranking devils, because we've only seen these 2 and Zagrid. And where Zagrid was much more smarter and much more a little bit more tactical in his approach, and like Zagrid definitely loved messing with people, but he didn't necessarily put himself as in as much danger as these 2. Like these 2 devils, like they're definitely strong, but I just feel like they're really not super smart, or at least not super strategy heavy in fights. I feel like they're literally just fighting to enjoy the battle. Like they're not really trying to not die. They're just trying to have as much fun as possible. Almost kind of like take Kenpachi from Bleach. Like, Kenpachi, obviously super strong dude, but like Kenpachi, when he's fighting, he doesn't really care about his own safety. He takes tons of hits and gets damaged and like all of this other stuff just to enjoy the fight. He even handicaps himself severely to enjoy the fight. So that's how kind of the vibe I get from these two devils. So I kind of do think Asta probably is going to end up killing them, just because they're not taking the fight nearly as seriously as they should be. I also do think it was a cool moment while they were fighting, when their physical bodies had disappeared. It kind of makes me believe that, you know, they can turn into their actual element, like being Devil Fire and Devil Ice, which is kind of like a little neat touch. Because I guess like outside of anti-magic, I don't really know how another mage or another magic user would really hit them all like that. Like when they would turn into their element. But the way Asta deals with this is he pulls out the Demon Destroyer sword, and it's kind of crazy because it like changes form. And I feel like this wasn't really something that a lot of people saw coming. I don't really think a lot of people would expect one of his swords to straight up change form. And basically through this, it dispelled the entire effect of them becoming their magic element, and then Asta was able to land a hit. And now I do still think this is well within the realm of what the Demon Destroyer sword could do, because I feel like they probably just reached this new level, or like casted this spell on themselves and transformed into something else. And the Demon Destroyer sword, as we know, does sever the cause and relationship effect of magic. So like, you know, they activated something, they turned into this. Demon Destroyers will activate, shut it down. So that's kind of how I think it really worked. And I really feel like the transformation of the sword was probably just to symbolize how much stronger it is than usual. This is obviously not something Asta could do, you know, without his union, or without the Demon Destroyer sword being at like this higher level. Yeah, but basically after Asta does it dispel everything, he cuts Nama clean down the middle, or at least it appears to be cut clear down the middle. It's kind of like the paneling is kind of like now I feel like Tabata definitely drew it like this on purpose to add like that extra dramatic effect, but he also could have possibly did it to like throw us off, like maybe it isn't as clean as a cut as we think it is, or maybe since he cut him in half, we'll finally get to see possibly if the speculation is true that everybody has thought that like Lilith and Nama are two halves of one devil, since, you know, like their one halves kind of favor each other with the like devil arm on each side. So I wonder, is that going to happen the next time we see them? Honestly, I'm not for sure. Hopefully next chapter I do want this to conclude. If not conclude, either go to them fusing, like, or if that, maybe that could happen in the beginning and we can go a little bit farther, because I definitely don't want this part to drag, just because there's so many things in the Spade Kingdom that I want to get to. I really want to see the Dark Triad again. That's really what I want to see next. We could honestly get some Vanako or some Xenon. That would be absolutely perfect, or especially Morris. Morris is really interesting right now, because I really want to see, is another gate going to open while Asta is fighting these. So there's definitely a lot I want to see. All in all, I give this chapter, I mean, since it was only just a fight and it was just essentially another Asta hype chapter, I really only give it like a 6, honestly. It just wasn't like, it was a good chapter, and it was hype for Asta, and it was hype to see what more Devil Union can do, but it just, a lot really didn't happen all like that, and it's just gonna take a little bit more than a hype crazy fight to get me like super pumped up. So let me know what you guys thought about the chapter down below, as well as Asta's form. I am very curious to know what you guys think is going on with the little leaves or the bulbs that are forming on his chest. Just kind of curious to see if anybody has anything different, or if we all pretty much think the same thing on that one. Aside from that, make sure you guys like the video, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Black Clover content. I definitely have some cool things in store in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. Aside from that, enjoy the rest of you guys' day. Happy Easter again if you celebrate it, and I will catch you guys all in my next video.